I am Dr. Abrar, and today I am in my biology lecture. I am further explaining the topic of human blood circulatory system. So in our today's topic, we will understand 4 valves of the heart and what is lub-dub sound. We hear a sound in our chest, in our body of the heart. This sound is called lub-dub sound. And what is systole and diastole? Systolic pressure and diastolic pressure. We will understand it. And at the last but not the least, we will also understand types of blood vessels. So let's start. 4 valves of the heart. So today I am going to focus 4 valves of the heart. And as we know that there are 4 chambers of the heart, namely left atrium, right atrium, left ventricle and right ventricle. So these are the 4 chambers of the heart. And there are 4 valves of the heart, namely bicuspid valve, tricuspid valve, aortic valve and pulmonary valve. And remember that the function of the valve is to prevent the backflow of the blood. So these valves of the heart, they, as we mentioned, that they ensure the one-way flow of the blood and they prevent the backflow of the blood. And when the blood tries to flow back in backward direction, so the valve closes. So the valve closes, and when a valve closes, so it produces a sound as someone closes the door. So when someone closes the door, so we hear a sound of door closing. Similarly, we hear this sound in our heart. For my Urdu audience, now I am giving an example of poetry. So the poet said for heart कि बहुत शोर सुनते थे पहलू में दिल का, बहुत शोर सुनते थे पहलू में दिल का, जो चीरा तो एक कतराए खून निकला. It means कि शायर को पता था कि हार्ट में शोर होता है, आवाज़ आती है. That sound, that noise is lub-dub sound. And why this noise is produced? Why that sound is produced? Because of the closing of the valves. So now let's understand. So bicuspid valve and tricuspid valve, collectively they are called atrioventricular valves. Why they are called atrioventricular valves? Because they are present between the atria and the ventricles. The upper 2 chambers are called atria or atrium, like left atrium and left ventricle. So between left atrium and left ventricle, the type of atrioventricular valve is bicuspid valve. And between right atrium and right ventricle, the type of the valve is tricuspid valve. So here these flap-like structures, they are bicuspid valve, and these flap-like structures, they are representing tricuspid valve. And these valves, as suppose that blood is flowing in this direction, so they keep open. So the blood, but when the blood will try to flow back, so the valve will close. As in the tires, there are valves, so they do not let the air to come out. If we are filling the air in the tire, so it allows the air to come in, but it does not allow the air to flow back. Same is the function here. So when after the contraction of the atria, the blood flows in the ventricles. At that time the valves are open. These atrioventricular valves are open. But the moment the ventricles contract for pumping the blood to flow back out of the heart, at that time the valves, both of these valves, atrioventricular valves, bicuspid and tricuspid, they close. And when they close, a lub sound is produced. A comparatively louder sound is produced. Lub sound. Medically it is called lub sound. And the moment, because all of this within 1 second the one heartbeat is completed. So after the ventricular contraction, now the blood is flowing here from the left atrium. As we know, the left ventricle, from left atrium and from left ventricle. Left atrium and left ventricle, they contain oxygenated blood. So when the left ventricle contracts, and left ventricle, remember, is the most muscular and strongest chamber of the heart. So when the left ventricle contracts, so it has to send the blood through aorta. This is the path of aorta to whole of the body. So here the blood pressure is highest, and the blood, oxygenated blood, will be sent to the body. Here at the moment, at the point of at the end of the left ventricle, the semilunar valves or the aortic valves are present. These valves, when the ventricles contract, so after contracting they will relax to receive the next flow of blood from the atrium. So there is a chance that at that time the blood which has been pumped in the aorta, that may come back. So this valve closes and it does not allow the blood which is going back in the aorta to come back into the left ventricle. So at that time, this valve, semilunar valve, and the other semilunar valve which is present at the other end of this right ventricle, here at the pulmonary arteries, so these two valves will close. Collectively, these valves are called semilunar valves. Why they are called semilunar valves? Because these valves, as lunar is associated with moon, suppose this is the structure of moon, crescent suppose. So but semilunar, half moon, this is called semilunar. So the shape of these valve is like half moon. That's why they are called this one, semilunar valves. They are not allowing the blood to go back to the ventricles. Rather, they ensure that the blood should go towards the aorta and towards the pulmonary artery. So this is and due to the closing of the semilunar valve, a dub sound is produced. So this is lub-dub sound. And then systole and diastole pressure. When the ventricles contract, so they contract with higher force and a higher blood pressure is produced as the result, consequently. And as a result of this higher pressure, so a pulse is created in the arteries, in the aorta and in the arteries, and blood is a wave of blood. The pulse is the blood is flowing in our body and in the arteries in wave-like fashion. This higher pressure is called systole or systolic pressure, like it is mostly 120 or 130 generally in an adult. And when remember, this systolic pressure is caused due to the contraction of the ventricles, and at the moment when the ventricles, after contraction, they relax. Why? They relax. After contraction they relax. Why they relax? To receive the new blood from the atria. So when they relax, so now the pressure is dropped. This drop in pressure is called low pressure, and this is called diastole or diastolic pressure. Right? So we explained this thing. Now come to the types of blood vessels. There are 3 types of blood vessels, namely arteries, veins and capillaries. Now arteries, remember that arteries, they contain mostly generally oxygenated blood. Arteries contain oxygenated blood. All the arteries in the body, they are carrying oxygenated blood for carrying oxygen and other materials to all parts of the body, towards brain, towards skin, towards nervous system, digestive system, stomach, liver, legs, muscles, into all parts of the body, but except pulmonary artery, because pulmonary artery is the one which is carrying the blood towards the lungs for oxygenation. So that must be containing deoxygenated blood. So I repeat, all the arteries contain oxygenated blood except pulmonary artery, and the veins are the blood vessels which bring the blood back towards the heart. These veins contain deoxygenated blood, and all the veins contain deoxygenated blood except pulmonary vein, which is bringing the blood from the lungs, so it must be oxygenated. So why I represented arteries with red and why I represented veins with blue? The reason is that oxygenated blood is bright red in color. Oxygenated blood is bright red in color. So that's why the blood flowing in the arteries is generally bright red except the pulmonary artery. And the veins, they appear bluish, they are present near the skin, like here. They are purplish or bluish because the deoxygenated blood is purplish or bluish in color slightly. So that's why I represented it and I wrote it with blue. Except the pulmonary vein. Pulmonary vein and pulmonary artery is the exception, remember. And the capillaries are the blood vessels which are minute, which are microscopic, which are delicate. So, and they are now in between the arteries and the capillaries, in between the arteries and the veins. Suppose this is an artery and this is the direction of the blood flow. So blood is flowing in forward direction. This is the artery, and when the artery divides, the small arteries are called arterioles. Arterioles, small artery, arterioles, like we say book, booklet. So similarly artery, arteriole. And when arterioles divide, they finally form capillaries. So this region is showing the capillaries. Some are red, some are blue, because it is in between. And here these are the tissues. Here I should say these are the tissues and these are the cells. And here the exchange of material is taking place. Oxygen is diffusing out into the cells. So here I am drawing the cells, and the group of cells are called tissues. So oxygen is coming out and carbon dioxide is now diffusing into the blood. Now gradually as the process proceeds, so these blood capillaries from oxygenated, they start getting deoxygenated. Now they are containing deoxygenated blood, and now they will be joining together to call venules, which is the short form of veins. Like if it is a vein, so the short thing is very microscopic or small thing will be venule. So these are venules, and then it will form jointly, they will start joining and they will form vein. And now this vein containing deoxygenated blood will carry the deoxygenated blood back towards the heart, towards the right chamber, towards the right side of the heart, and this process repeats. So this was about the today's topic. Now I will give you some questions as an example to make you understand what type of questions may come in this topic from the Cambridge. So let's look at the some of the questions from the past paper. Question number 1. The graph shows pressure changes in the left atrium and in the left ventricle during one heartbeat. So this is the graph. On y-axis it is pressure and on x-axis it is time. So the full line, it is showing the lower full line is a dark line is showing the ventricle, and the dotted line is showing the pressure in the atrium. So what is the state of the valves in the heart at time x? Now focus at time x. At time x, what is the state of the valves? So let's focus and see the ventricle, the line of ventricle. At point x, the blood pressure is highest in the ventricle. The blood pressure is highest in the ventricle. So it means that why it is highest, and from that highest point now the blood pressure starts declining, dropping. What's the reason? Because it means that the valves atrioventricular valve, the left atrioventricular valve must be closed, while the semilunar valve will be open. When the semilunar valve, which is carrying the blood in forward direction, that must be open, so the blood is going towards the body through aorta, so that valve is open, that door is open, but the back door is closed. The back door is bicuspid valve, that must be closed, so that's why option B. So question number 1, option B. Question number 2, the diagram shows changes in the pressure in aorta and in the left ventricle during one complete heartbeat. So the diagram is showing the pressure in aorta and the left ventricle. So keep in mind aorta and the left ventricle. So this is the graph, and what causes the increase in pressure between point X and Y? So at point X and Y the pressure is increasing. What is the reason? What can be the reason? The reason is contraction of the left ventricle, because when the ventricle will contract, so at that time the pressure will increase, not because of the relaxation. Due to the relaxation the pressure will drop. So leave option C and D, only A and B, either it can be A or B, but as they are talking about left ventricle, so definitely it is because of the contraction of the left ventricle. So the pressure is increasing because of the contraction of the left ventricle, obviously, because they are talking about the left ventricle in question. So that's why option B. Question number 3. The graph shows the pressure changes in the left atrium and the left ventricle while the heart is beating. When does the atrioventricular or bicuspid valve close? When the bicuspid valve close, remember that at C, at point C, here we can see that at point C, not A, not B, not C, the pressure is reached to its maximum and then it starts dropping. Why it stopped dropping? Once again, this question is similar to question number 1. The blood pressure is decreasing, is dropping in the left ventricle because of the bicuspid valve closing of the bicuspid valve. The bicuspid valve, the back door is closed and the front door, the semilunar valve or aortic valve, that is open. So at this point the atrioventricular valve, that is bicuspid valve, must be at closed position. And the last question is, which chamber of the heart would be the first to receive nicotine absorbed into the blood in the lungs of a cigarette smoker? It's a different question. So remember, so for the time being, keep the side of keep this nicotine, the factor of nicotine, at one side, but keep in mind that the blood, if the blood is coming from the lungs, so it must be coming through pulmonary vein, and that must be oxygenated blood, and this blood should be entering, as this blood is oxygenated blood, as this blood is oxygenated blood, because the blood which is coming from the lungs through pulmonary vein, that must be oxygenated blood. So as we establish this fact that oxygenated blood enters into the left atrium, the left part of the heart contains oxygenated blood, so then it is nothing other than left atrium, option A. So that's how we solve the questions. Okay, thank you very much.